Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 28th of April. Finally, we're up and running now after a little technical glitch just a minute ago, but we're now live, up and running, and we have got a jam-packed news show for you tonight, which includes lots of news regarding Sudan, and also, yes, climate protesters once again in London. Not ideal, if you ask me. I'm joined by my co-host, Labour Party supporter Zach Chambers, trying out all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, we're going to start off now with the news that I think a lot of people have been literally keeping up with all week. Now, obviously, Sudan, there's been a lot of fighting going on, and we know from what we've been understanding that the government have spoken out on this and they've called the situation extremely concerning. Now, we already have a war going on in Ukraine right now between Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, the Russian invasion that started last February. But Zach, I have to say, this event in Sudan is pretty horrifying, if you ask me.
Yeah, so this is a little bit different, obviously, to the war in Ukraine, because whilst the war in Ukraine is between two countries, this one is sort of more in a war itself, shall we say, a country at war itself. So let me explain what's going on here. And now the reason why they're what's all this, why they're all fighting, what's all this civilian war about going on here. There has been a bit of a power struggle. You've got two things. You've got the Sudan armed forces. They're supposed to loyal to what they call the supposedly de facto leader of that country, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Technically the country's de facto ruler, you wouldn't notice. Although they are fighting inside the country against what they call against the paramilitaries of the Rapid Support Forces, which is basically a collection of militia, and it follows the warlord General Mohammed Hamdan Diallo, known as Hemedti, as well. Now, this has been sort of not just escalated overnight. This has been a power struggle for many years. So they've had this since 2019. They tried to oust the dictator Omar al-Bashir, built up security forces and set up one against another as well. Then they tried to do the democratic-led, civilian-led government to basically, put in the power of the people and decide their future. But then Bashir falled as well, and there's been a little bit of a conflict between which actually group of militaries and rulers actually rule that country. Now, its situation has got to a head recently in Sudan, because these two factions have now clashed, come together, disagreed on the sort of things as well, and we've seen the likes of the Rapid Support Forces. By the way, I should point out the Rapid Support Forces are actually supported by the Russians, just to make that very clear as well. And I want to make sure that clear that out, just in case you're wondering what side to take on this. The Rapid Support Forces have not been impressed with. They think they're the de facto rulers, basically, or the de facto should be the ones that run in the country. So they've tried to take over the airport, take over the city, bring in the army there as well, and it's resulted across the country. These two forces are now starting to clash between the parliamentary Sudan armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. They've clashed, and therefore there's been incidents across the country. The airport's been tried to be captured by the RSF. Many of the towns being tried to be captured. The airport, many areas as well, and it's a bloodbath basically on the main field. So this is an country fight between two forces. But as you suspect, the losers out of this are the civilians. The situation is dangerous. A lot of gunshots, a lot of bombing going on as well. A lot of weapons being used. So, it's resulted in the civilians being in dangers. And evacuations have had to take place. Now, as you imagine, there are British nationals that are living in Sudan. A lot of countries from different countries have nationals that live in Sudan. The situation has obviously got dangerous for civilians to start being evacuated. Diplomats got evacuated first of all, and then civilians have also now started to be evacuated now from the area as well. And now you're wondering how this is all going. All the civilians here in the UK civilians, UK citizens, are being taken from Sudan to Cyprus, and then back from Cyprus to the UK. In terms of how it's all working, in terms of like where to go, that sort of thing as well. It's hectic, and there's a lot of planning, a lot of involvement in that sort of thing as well. The foreign secretary, the defense secretary have all been involved in this sort of thing as well. But yeah, the situation's got dangerous. Now, there has been recently a ceasefire between the two forces agreed. Last night, that ceasefire was extended by another 72 hours. However, the civilian evacuation flights are now starting to end because there has been less demand for it. There's a lot less national British citizens that are or those with British passports are demanding less than demanding flights. So Oliver Dowden went on the airways tonight saying that it would be wound down, the forces as well. So they're going to end at 6 o'clock tomorrow UK time. So anyone who wants to flee basically needs to flee now. Well, the situation is pretty serious. It's a dangerous situation. There is a ceasefire for now, but there's no guarantee that ceasefire is going to continue. Once again, it's been another. This is the second agreed ceasefire, by the way. So highly unlikely it would be a third or fourth one on the way. So this is a situation that's perilous, and people who are in there should really get out. It's either they're going to have to get out by either flight, or if you're going to be that brave enough, you're going to have to go via, unfortunately, small boats to get somewhere else. Quite frankly, there will be a lot of refugees in this who want to get out of it, get out of Sudan and move somewhere else. So there is a situation that needs to be looked at on there. But yeah, absolutely, it's a serious situation in Sudan. As well, it borders the rest. Sudan is a country that borders the Red Sea. It's part of Africa, as well. It's got regional power players in many ways as well. Next to Ethiopia, and those sort of areas as well. But yeah, it's Sudan's a very influential country. Depending on what happens, if the Rapid Defense Forces probably take over that area, then it will please the Russians in some ways, and several other adversaries as well. So there's a lot at stake here as well in terms of who control that country. But nevertheless, it's like I said, it's a dangerous situation, and everyone really should get out of the area.
Well, according to the iWeekend's with the Eyes newspaper for the other day, it said NHS doctors stranded in Sudan are the risk of UK refuses an airlift, and that was referring there to the situation. I just thought I'd get a newspaper involved there, because that does reflect the scenes that are happening right now in Sudan. It's not a very nice atmosphere. It's pretty bleak. I don't want to be seeing bloodshed again. Oh, more war. Please comment down below, guys, what you make to that current situation. Now, moving on now to some United States talk show news now. Well, should I say talk show news that turned into 2 firings this week. Now, this is one thing I have been following very closely, and it has been revealed this week that 2 US journalists have both been fired by respective US media organizations. Tucker Carlson was given the boot by Fox News this week, and Don Lemon also got fired by CNN after spending 17 years at the station. Tucker, of course, was on Fox News for an interesting amount of time as well. Now, both journalists obviously are from different sides of the argument. Tucker's on the right, Don's obviously on the left. There's been lots of reaction to this. Obviously, Rupert Murdoch announced that firing of Fox News for Tucker Carlson, and Don Lemon, CNN, brought out a statement regarding his firing. Obviously, both of us have different views on each of them. But Zach, I have to say, this news this week for these 2 US talk show giants, pretty huge.
Yeah, I have to say it's certainly big news in the state. I mean, both of these departures came in all in one day. It was what shall I say? I don't know what we could want to call it. I think it's Manic Monday or something like that, or Mad Media Monday. It started out Monday, like I said as well. Fox put out the very surprising news as well that they agreed to mutually part ways with Tucker Carlson. I have to say it's a very shocking piece of news that surprised, caught out a lot of journalists and caught a lot of the US public out as well. Now, Tucker Carlson, you probably no introduction needed to be fair. Tucker Carlson is the most right-wing conservative that you could ever get at Fox News. I mean, he's been he's a very conservative presenter. He's a bit of conspiracy theorist. He's downplayed the likes of January the 6th. He's been a huge Trump supporter. He's been using, some would say race baiting, segments and all that sort of thing as well. Now, it's obviously a bit of a surprise. They're thinking, why would some would say, why would Fox get rid of their big presenters and all that sort of thing? As well, and it's a big surprise. I wonder if this was related. There's two things that could be related here. One is the Dominion lawsuit that was settled between Dominion and Fox, which, by the way, was a big buyout, $730 million that Fox settled with Dominion, and I wonder if Fox is trying to scoop up the costs of that lawsuit. Where they Dominion alleged, basically liable and defamation for voter fraud allegations against that was alleged on Fox News personalities and guests that appeared. I wonder if one of them is to scoff off the cost of that. Now, Fox News, I believe, has denied this. But yeah, Tucker Carlson was their biggest rated show on Fox News. He dominated the 8 p.m. hour. He was the biggest in the demo. He was the biggest in the 8 p.m. hour over in the news segments as well. There was the other thing that was mentioned, and I saw as well that could possibly be linked to him departing, was the fact that he could have been slagging off the executives at Fox News itself at the very top, and he'd leaked and surprised, redacted, obviously sort of discovery and inserts that was released out of these Dominion lawsuits. We've not actually seen all of it because they're obviously Dominion settled. But nevertheless, it's embarrassing for Tucker Carlson because obviously Tucker Carlson secretly behind the scenes said he never wanted to hear of Trump again. And then obviously on the air, he said something completely different as well. So, and there's other allegations as well, another lawsuit brought against, I think, Tucker himself, or I think one of the producers of Fox, against potential sexual harassment as well. So it may be related to that. Now, Tucker Carlson released a little statement the other day. He didn't actually direct the reason why he left Fox News. He just put out a couple-minute video on Twitter with no reference to Fox News at all whatsoever. But yeah, Tucker Carlson was meant to do the show on Monday night. He even announced that he was back on Monday. And then Rupert Murdoch made a big call to sack him on Monday morning. And yeah, surprising news. Now, the effect of this at Fox is that you may have seen some of the ratings in the 8 p.m. hour for Fox. They have tumbled. Literally, Tucker Carlson normally gets 2-3 million at night. The last figures I saw was 1.3 million for last night's show. That got beaten by MSNBC. Just to tell you how far that the 8 p.m. slot Fox News hour has fallen. That has brought, obviously, they've bled conservatives in that hour. You can tell they've bled conservatives. They've been beaten in the demos by MSNBC, which is leans to the left. So obviously, clearly, it's having an impact by viewers on Fox who are probably switching off to other channels now and getting alternative sources. But yeah, it's not pleased Fox News viewers, and the shares went down in their stock and all that sort of thing as well. I want to get on to Don Lemon now because he has left CNN. He was one that appeared on Monday, did CNN this morning as usual. And then after the Tucker Carlson news, we found out that He got fired as well, and no official reason was given for that. Don Lemon put out a statement saying that after 17 years, his agent informed Don that CNN fired him, and he said as well that he didn't. No one at the top of the executives at the top of the country, or even offered of the company, sorry, even had offered to meet him in person, and explain why, or give him the boot in person. Now, CNN have put out a statement saying they denied this, and Don Lemon's assessment was inaccurate, and that the executives did offer to meet him, but Don decided to put out a statement on Twitter instead. But yeah, Don Lemon is 17 years at CNN. He's a big figure. He used to be a very normal, straight talking, not straight talking, but straight news anchor. And then he got his own primetime show in the 10 p.m. hour. And he was very informative, very opinionated then. And then he went on to do the breakfast show, aka the CNN This Morning for US viewers, later in the year, last year. But yeah, no reason was given for why CNN decided to part ways with Don Lemon. But it was a huge, again, massive shock. As well, Don Lemon used to host the CNN This Morning with Caitlin Collins and Poppy Harlow. And yeah, this move, particularly surprising. No reason for why Don Lemon was parted ways with CNN. But it came abruptly on the news after Tucker Carlson's departure. Yeah, but so yeah, big shake up in the media industry in CNN and Fox News. Fox News have not revealed a new primetime anchor yet for the 8 p.m. hours. They're going to do rotating presenters. This week it's been Brian Kilmeade. The next week I believe it's going to be Lawrence Jones as well. Fox News also recently passed away with Dan Bongino as well, who used to be the Secret Service agent, turned TV presenter. But yeah, a lot of media moves going on at the moment. And actually, the only winner out of this, I think, as this is the more moderate viewers who probably don't like listening to extreme personalities. They probably win out these departures and probably can go on to sane TV during the daytime if they really wanted to.
I have to say, and I'm going to play for you this video now. Tucker Carlson made a speech the other day about abortion rights, which I'm going to play for you now. And we're going to get our views on this afterwards. This is the moment that Tucker Carlson, you done this speech the other day in which he attacked the recent news about abortion rights. It says on here, Tucker Carlson was taken off air by Rupert Murdoch because of overly religious remarks he made during a recent speech, according to Vanity Fair. Could this be what caused the firing? Have a listen to this.
For some reason, that really got me. Yeah, it did. And actually, I'll just tell you, since it's just us and no one's watching, that it reminded me that I don't pray enough for the country, and I should. And I'm upset. But the answer is to include the country in your prayers. So thank you for reminding us of that. As you look around and you see so many people break under the strain, under the downward pressure of whatever this is that we're going through, and you look with disdain and sadness as you see people become quislings, you see them revealed as cowards, you see them going along with a new thing, which is clearly a poisonous thing, a silly thing. I'm not mad at people, I'm just sad, I'm disappointed. How could you go along with this? You know it's not true, but you're saying it anyway? Really? You're putting your pronouns in your email? You're ridiculous. But no one else thinks it's ridiculous. Oh no, it's your pronouns in the email. What does that even mean? What does it even mean? You're saying things you can't define. LGBTQIA+? Who's the plus? The plus is invited to my show anytime. Find a plus and I'll interview him. What's it like to be a plus? Am I a plus? I'm serious. I feel like I'm an addition. Does that make me a plus? No one even knows what it is. And the whole society, LGBTQIA+. All right, what's the plus? Oh, shut up. Racist. Okay. If you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child sacrifice, obviously. Well, what's the point of child sacrifice? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms. When people or crowds of people or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. I'm not calling for a religious war, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement of what we're watching, which is not one, and I'm certainly not backing the Republican Party. I mean, I'm not making a partisan point at all. I'm coming to you from the most humble and lowly theological position you can. I'm literally an Episcopalian, okay? And even I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future, and I hope you will.
Thank you to Tucker Carlson there for that speech that he made the other day. I mean, Zach, what did you make to that speech by Tucker Carlson the other day? Could that have been potentially the triggering point for that potential meeting with Rupert Murdoch?
I don't know, really. I think there's more issues than that. I mean, Tucker Carlson has said in, inflammatory, quite outrageous, whatever you want to call it, stuff like that in the past, and he's got away with it. And the Fox executive didn't care. I mean, like Fox, gives guest times that have sort of the same views as Tucker Carlson. So, in true form, to be fair, I don't think that was the reason that Tucker Carlson got fired. There's in the same way I think Don Lemon, there must be reasons above for him to be booted out of CNN. I still think that Carlson did not have a good relationship with the executives as much as we thought, we know about. And I think lawsuits, settlements, and a pressure at the top of Fox and the executives there to maintain some sort of reputation meant I think there was more issues, political and existential issues at the top of both companies. That meant that they, that Carlson went and Don Lemon went. I think it's more those sort of things that got given them the boot rather than what they said and how they said it. I mean, and Don Lemon said some controversial things, but let's just say that. I mean, recently he said Nikki Haley, in the age of I can't remember her age, 50 something, that she wasn't in her prime because she was getting older or something like that. And it was viewed as sexist by many people. And I think it got taken off the airways for a couple of days as well. So, yeah, I think there's more to this than just free speech and whatever that caused them to be booted off and have their contracts terminated.
Yeah, well, we've seen as well Christina Guru Murphy from Channel 4 being taken off the airways for a comment he made about Jacob Rees-Mogg. I'm not going to repeat it because it was a bit rude. But yes, surely that obviously, please comment down below, guys, what you make to the latest US journalist departures there of Don Lemon from CNN and Tucker Carlson from Fox News. What do you think they will do next? This is the Tonight Show podcast with me, Charlie, and that live on YouTube. And now we move on to the big question, which is a segment where I asked a question about a recent news story that's happened this week. Now, the big question tonight is this: should we be taking more measures to combat eco warriors from blocking roads? Yeah, should the police be given extra powers to stop these eco warriors blocking roads? Yes, I'm referring to Just Stop Oil now, the group that this week have been going around London, apparently walking in the middle of the road and basically making commuters extremely livid. And one guy got out of his lorry the other day, threw the banner off, and the police warned him. Okay, is that entirely ridiculous? I have to say that for one thing. But Zach, I understand there is a bill going through Parliament where the police are going to be given more powers for this. There is legislation in the works. Do you think that this is the important move for the police? And do you think the police need to be given extra powers to help deal with these protesters?
I mean, I just think, how many times can you be given new powers for within existing legislation. This is the problem, right? Okay, yeah, I'm annoyed about protesters blocking roads, sitting in the middle of the road, and all that sort of thing, and ruining our daily commutes, innocent daily commutes that have for no reason whatsoever. I'm annoyed at Just Stop Oil for invading snooker matches which has nothing to do with oil, or even spectators running onto a circuit during a Formula E race for no reason whatsoever, despite the fact that series is electric. But obviously, okay, they're two different countries and they're two different series. Obviously, Formula E is all electric. There's still some oil, but there's less oil, way less oil of using that. Whereas snooker, I don't know what the hell that you do using that and everything like that.
Oh.
But in terms of violent protesting and eco wars on the road, I don't mind them protesting. But at the end of the day, number one, throwing paint, spray, all that sort of thing, it's just vandalism. But in terms of all these new legislation, we don't need new legislation. We should use existing powers. We don't need to keep creating new legislation to create new powers. We should update existing legislation to, place new powers within that existing legislation, or use the powers that has and are not being used to enforce those. I mean, how many crime bills have gone through Parliament in the last few years talking about police powers and all that sort of thing as well? There's been a few. Why do we need more? I mean, surely they would have all been covered anyway previously and in other legislation. There's no need for another one. We really don't need it. We've got plenty already. Just use the existing powers. But yeah, eco warriors, environmental protesters that block roads, sit there in the middle of the road for no reason, and then just cause vandalism and damage and cause disruption for show off purposes. No, I don't like them. I don't mind them doing a walking protest and actually using legit methods and move along and all that sort of thing. I've seen some sort of measures that the government going to announce this week, including the ban of slow walking or something like that. I mean, okay, that's a bit weird. All right, slow walking is stopping, but at the end of the day, you're not actually stuck there. You're still walking. What you want to do? Run, do the bloody London Marathon, running away and protesting at the same time. I mean, what are you going to do about that one? But yeah, I think for me, the cases on this is that I don't mind environmental protesters, but not when they're stuck in the middle of the road, sitting there, glued to themselves, whilst ambulances, police cars, others, daily commuters and trains can't even get their way through, and they're the ones being affected because of idiots that have, ruined their sympathetic cause, and turn it into, no sympathy at all.
Well, all I can say is it was a pretty interesting development, and yeah, we'll keep you updated with all the latest news. But surely this is time now to arrest these people. The fact that they're blocking the roads still is just ridiculous. And we saw that big, massive climate protest last week from Extinction Rebellion as well. Roads were closed around London as the marathon was on as well. Ugh, not ideal if you ask me. Please comment down below, guys, what you have to say about that. Now it's time for the sports news now. The sport briefing is now on. We're going to talk now about the Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying. I have watched a little brief highlights of this one. Now, we have a new pole sitter today. Of course, there is a new sprint qualifying format trialled. I'm not going to give my views on that because obviously I don't want to comment on it on this show. But yes, we have Charles Leclerc taking pole position today. Yes, I know if you're watching Matt Gallagher from P1, I'm sure you're very pleased today that your man has achieved pole position, because I know it's been a very difficult start to the season for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari with retirements and DNFs in the last couple of races. But Zach, I have to say, I mean, Red Bull beaten today, but they still look quick.
Yeah, it's weird that we're talking about qualifying on a Friday. I mean, we're starting to get used to that. But yes, to keep people up to date on everything like that, yeah, it's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. 5 races in 6 weeks, by the way, upcoming. It should point out as well. But yeah, I mean, it's the Azerbaijan this weekend. It is literally the land of fire, and the action, especially Azerbaijan, can be a bit fiery. I mean, we've seen a few instances of fires today, and this is one of the tracks that it's just chaotic in chaotic nature and chaotic, in what it does. So it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if there's incidents tomorrow as well. But yeah, there's a new sprint format this weekend. And for the 6 races that we're going to have this year. So to sum up, basically, 1 practice session we've had today. And then obviously the Friday afternoon, it's qualifying. But this time, instead of setting the grid for the Saturday sprint, it's now going to set the grid for the main race on Sunday. And let's go over it today, because Charles Leclerc finally beating a Red Bull. Finally. Charles Leclerc's had a horrid first 3 races of the season, but this is redemption time surely for him. Charles Leclerc on pole at 2/10 ahead of Max Verstappen. The first lap he set in Q3, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, they were equal to each other. They set identical times, but Max Verstappen set the lap first ahead of Leclerc. But then Charles Leclerc had a much better second lap and took that pole position by nearly 2/10. Oh, it was brilliant. Finally, look, Ferrari getting their game together as well. Max Verstappen should be happy though. He finished second ahead of Perez. I mean, it could be an easy opportunity for Perez and Verstappen. They could work together on the Sunday as well to get ahead of Leclerc for the race. Carlos Sainz 4th, Lewis Hamilton 5th. Lewis Hamilton, I think, will be pleased about his qualifying. Actually, Mercedes was struggling, quite frankly, but he got the best out of that. Carlos Sainz 4th, Alonso 6th, a little bit down on Australia, Saudi Arabia, the first 3 races, but 6th position, respectable. Lando Norris 7th. I mean, it's a good result for Lando Norris, especially struggled with the the pace and everything like that. He wasn't too happy, but he should be pleased by that. Yuki Tsunoda 8th, good one for AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri have had a good week, by the way, and they've just nicked Ferrari's deputy team principal as well. I can't remember his name. He's replacing Franz Tost next season. Laurent Meeks, there we go. Laurent Meeks, obviously one of the directors at Ferrari. Is going to AlphaTauri next season. It's been announced today, to replacing Franz Tost, who's leaving AlphaTauri. Best of luck to him at the end of the season as well. Lance Stroll 9th. Oscar Piastri got a Q3 start for the first time this season in 10th. Poor session for George Russell. Got knocked out by the skin of his teeth in Q2 as well. Esteban Ocon 12th. Alex Albon 13th. Valtteri Bottas 14th. Logan Sargent 15th position. Good result, I think, for Logan Sargent, especially the fact he got out Q1 for the first time this season. Really good job for him. But Joe Guan Yu 16th, Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, poor result for the Haas 17th and 18th. And it was a bit chaotic in Q1. Nick de Vries crashed first of all, sending the red flag out. And then just after the red flag, 30 seconds later, after the green flag, Pierre Gasly slopped it into the wall and then started 19th. That is qualifying for the main race on Sunday. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit different. We have a new format for Saturday. So Saturday morning at 9:30 tomorrow, it will be called Sprint Shootout. It's basically a shorter qualifying session, basically. Sprint qualifying. It's basically a shorter qualifying, but it will set the grid for the sprint later on. Mandatory tyre session. Mandatory tyres are going to be used for that. So for Q1 and Q2, or SQ1 and SQ2 as they're referring to, you're using mandatory mediums. For SQ3, it's mandatory soft, and the sessions are shorter. So SQ1 is 12 minutes instead of 18. SQ2 is 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes. And SQ3 is going to be 8 minutes instead of 12 minutes. So shorter sessions means only one opportunity in possibly SQ3 for the top 10. But overall, everyone's going to be on it a little bit, has to get on it a little bit quicker. They're going to get maximum 2 laps in SQ2 and 1 lap in SQ3, I think, as well. So it's going to be this is going to be the sprint qualifying is going to set the grid for the sprint race as well, which will be at 2:30 in the afternoon. It'll be 17 lap shootouts top 8 get points as usual, but it will not affect the grid for Sunday as well. So it's going to be a standalone little event on the Saturday now. Top 8 gets points, so 8 for first, 7th for second, so on and so on. But yeah, the only time you probably get penalised or go sent to the back of the grid for Sunday is if you break part thermo rails. If you break part thermo rules now, you get sent to the back of the grid for the sprint race and for the main race as well on Sunday. But yeah, Saturday is a standalone event now. Maybe people, and especially by Azerbaijan, maybe more risk going to be taken by teams. They got less tyres. I should point out, they may save a little tyres, but people are going to, I think, it's going to be a little bit more challenge on the Saturday. I think drivers are going to be prepared to take more risks to get some points. Whereas they preserve their car for the Sunday. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to get messy at points, but it's going to make it really exciting. We'll see how it goes tomorrow with a shorter qualifying session, a sprint race, and then the main race Sunday as well. Whew, going to get a lot to get through.
Plenty of events to Formula One. That is going to be on this weekend, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix from Baku. Now it's time to talk about the NASCAR Cup Series now. I have just been having a little watch of it whilst we're on air, and I can tell you that there was a big wreck in that race involving, I believe, Joey Logano, and there was also another wreck as well that was involved as well. Ryan Preece, Michael McDowell, Harrison Burton got involved in a wreck as well. But the winner of that race was Kyle Busch, winning with Ryan Blaney second, Chris Buescher third, Chase Briscoe fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth, Eric Jones sixth, William Byron seventh, Christopher Bell eighth, Daniel Suarez ninth, and Todd Gillen there finishing 10th. Stage 1 winner Chase Elliott finished in 12th. Zach, what did you make to this NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega?
Well, I think it was actually pretty clean for most of it as well. I think it was good racing. A lot of lead changes, a lot of action-packed action. Certainly less messy than the Xfinity Series race we saw on the Saturday, which involved crash after crash after crash, and then cars upside down, and then just various big ones as well. It was a pretty chaotic race, the Xfinity race, that ended with, I don't know, just very little stuff like that. But yeah, for the Geico 500, it was, I believe it was Kyle Busch that won the race. On the final lap, the caution was flown because of a last lap incident involving Bubba Wallace, who was in the lead and then blew it by going down too early as well, and then getting caught up, and then others getting caught up in the mail as well. But yeah, it was Kyle Busch winning ahead of Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher. Good result with him in third. Chase Briscoe fourth, Brad Keselowski fifth, Eric Jones sixth, William Byron seventh, Christopher Bell eighth, Daniel Suarez ninth, and Todd Gillen 10th. I just have to say, Talladega was again, obviously, was the super speedway where it can take everybody and take so much as well. But yeah, it was a very interesting, quite fun race for in terms of action. But it was Kyle Busch that survived last lap action in the front to win the race. And well, this weekend is the Worth 400 at Dover. Now, there's also action for the Xfinity Series this weekend. So now their qualifying has been rained out, by the way, because of, as I said, it's been rained out. The weather, unfortunately, has affected the circuit as well. So it'll be Parker Kligerman that will start on the pole. It will be based on own points and all that sort of thing as well. But Parker Kligerman on the pole, ahead of Cole Custer, Samuel Creed, Jeb Burton as well, as fourth position. If I've got to say as well, let me get back to that as well. Fourth position. Let's go. We go. Fourth position, Jeb Burton as well. I'm just trying to get back to it as well on here. So fourth position there it is as well. I'm just trying to go through. I've lost my thing page there. Fifth position, is Parker Retzliff. Sixth is Austin Hill. Seventh is Josh Williams. Eighth is Brandon Jones. Brendan Poole is ninth, and as well Chandler Smith is 10th position as well for the Xfinity Series race tomorrow. Cup Series qualifying is supposedly, I believe, tomorrow if it doesn't get rained out. Now, It says that the Xfinity Series race tomorrow is due to start at 1:30. Whether that gets rained out, I do not know. The weather is a little bit funny this weekend. And in the Cup Series, actually, the race which was due to begin at a 7 p.m. our time is now being moved to 6 p.m. UK time because of possible weather on Sunday. So yeah, Cup Series is going to be interesting on the Sunday. It'll be the race against the drivers and the weather itself. Now, one absentee that you are going to be seeing this weekend is Alex Bowman. Now, he is going to be missing the next 3 or 4 races for the next couple of weeks because he was involved in an accident as well. I think it was like late night wheeling style. I can't remember what it was, something like that. Cars on the Wednesday as well. It's a sprint car event as well that he was involved in. But I want to crash there. As well, it'll be Alex Bowman will miss that race. Josh Berry is going to fill in for Alex Bowman for the next 3 or 4 weeks as well. So the number 48 will be vacated to Josh Berry's for the next 3 or 4 weeks while Alex Bowman recovers from his fractured vertebrae as well. We obviously wish him all the best. Hopefully gets better as well. But yeah, it was a pretty terrifying accident that left Alex Bowman breaking his spine and vertebrae. And that'll be 3 to 4 weeks out for action for Alex Bowman due to his injuries, I'm afraid, as well. But yeah, Dover action this weekend. The Xfinity Series is tomorrow at 1:30 UK time. Sorry, not 1:30, 6:30 UK time. The Cup Series is 6 o'clock UK time as well. The Truck Series is off at the moment. They are going to be back next weekend. As well at Kenseth after this race. It's going to be I think it's going to be it's going to be at Kenseth, and the Xfinity Series will have the week off next week, but it'll be the Truck Series and the Cup Series at Kenseth Speedway next week as well. But yeah, plenty of action to look forward to in NASCAR this weekend at Dover, the Monster Mile as they call it.
Josh Berry back again, certainly subbing for Chase Elliott when he had that injury. But yeah, I think I read up about Alex Bowman's injury from what I heard as well. I saw an article, I think, online. Pretty nasty injury. Vertebrae is a horrible one to injure. The spine, horrible injury, can take weeks to recover. Could it be that he's off for 3 or 4 races? Could he be off for longer? We don't know. We'll keep you updated on Alex Bowman's health as we get it. Moving on now to the Premier League football. Yes, we had big results over the last week. Yes, as you can tell, 6-1 loss for Tottenham against Newcastle. Not a great result for Tottenham Hotspur, certainly in my opinion there. But that's why I don't support them anymore after that one. Not that I don't support football much, so yeah. But let's go over the results. We're going to go over results from Tuesday, the 25th of April. We'll go from there. Wolves beating Crystal Palace 2-0. Aston Villa 1-0 winners against Fulham. That's a big result for them in their fight for European football. Leeds and Leicester drew 1-1. Nottingham Forest Brighton was a 3-1 win for Nottingham Forest, believe it or not, interestingly. Brentford 2, Chelsea 0. Frank Lampard has another bad result as interim manager. Liverpool West Ham 2-1. And that one, Manchester City winning the big game 4-1 against Arsenal there at the top of the table. Bournemouth beating Southampton 1-0 as Southampton looking very uncertain about their future in the Premier League. Maybe relegation on the way. And Newcastle beating Everton 4-1. And in the final match before the weekend's action, Manchester United and Tottenham drawing 2-2. Zach, what did you make to the latest football results?
Dramatic midweek in terms of implications of the football. In terms of the top and the bottom, dramatic implications. Let's start with the Tuesday, as you said as well. Wolves beating 2-0 Crystal Palace. It's the first time Palace has lost for quite a while under Roy Hodgson as well. 2-0 loss there for Palace. I mean, Wolves getting better and better under the, sort of their new management there as well. Aston Villa and Fulham, that was sort of a top of table sort of clash in there. As well, Aston Villa getting better and better on I mean, this example as well, 1-0 victory over Fulham, brilliant result by them. The big match I say was the bottom, Leeds Leicester City. As well, Leeds 1-1 draw against Leicester as well. Leeds score first as well. Leicester scored afterwards. Leicester, I think, were particularly unlucky because they had a goal ruled offside. Yuri Tillemans scored an absolute cracker in the first half and then got ruled off for offside as well. But Leeds nearly got it as well. Patrick Bamford at the end missed a clear goal scoring opportunity towards the end from a corner, and shocking result. I mean, it was a pretty poor miss and pretty costly miss as well. In terms of Leeds as well, they could have won that and then got themselves out of the relegation zone there as well. Let's go to Wednesday action. Let's start off with Nottingham Forest because they're the big winners. I have to say at the bottom of the table with this one. Satan against Brighton, a very tricky match against Brighton as well. And they showed up and then they delivered as well. Very big well done to them. 3-1 victory. That means they're out of the relegation zone now for a brief period. They're now in 17th, but still in a little bit of trouble. But they're now out of the relegation zone after beating Brighton at home as well. Chelsea's season under Frank Lampard and overall just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. I think I made that 4 or 5 straight losses now for Frank Lampard. He's not had even a single win, not even a single draw. All of them, the time he's managed it at Chelsea, have been losses, and this time it's particular 2-0 against Brentford as well, who've been doing really well. Azpilicueta scored an own goal in the 37th minute, and then Bermudo in the 78th minute as well scored for Brentford. Particularly impressive stuff for Brentford as usual this season as well. West Ham Liverpool was a closer match. West Ham have been doing really well recently. I think they're safe now. They lost 2-1, but they should be. I think West Ham should be pretty pleased with their performance. Paqueta scored early on with an absolute belt of a goal, by the way, I should say as well. Early on, but then it's Cody Gakpo got back, few offside, few rule-out goals, and then Joel Matip finally got to the goal this season, scored in the 67th minute as well. But the big one everyone was talking about, and as well, the last game on the Wednesday, the big one was everyone was talking about Manchester City and Arsenal. Manchester City 4, Arsenal 1. You know, Manchester City totally dominant the whole game. Arsenal struggling as well. And, you know, Haaland has now scored the most goals in a Premier League season as well in the 95th minute. Kevin De Bruyne kicked it all off in the 7th minute and the 54th minute as well. John Stones allowed Man City to go 3-1 up at half-time and 3-0 up at half-time. But then Rob Holding scored a consolatory 86th-minute goal. But then Erling Haaland, 95th minute goal. Incredible. Most in one season now in the Premier League for Erling Haaland, who's continuously stunning form. It means Manchester City now 2 points behind Arsenal with an additional 2 games in hand. They are now the favourites to win the title this season. And Arsenal, what can I say? They're blowing it. They are absolutely blowing it towards the end of the season as well. And in the Thursday matches, let's continue on from there. Southampton, costly loss against Bournemouth. Gary O'Neill has struggled early on as Bournemouth manager, but goodness me, he's come back with that team and really shown his skills. 1-0 victory there. Everton, well, their honeymoon under Sean Dyche is quickly starting to slowly end. 4-1 loss against Newcastle, who are almost certainly going to get Champions League football and European football at least next season. Great display by them. And Tottenham and Man United just drew 2-2 on Thursday. Tottenham recovered from their absolute humiliating 6-1 loss on the Sunday by going 2-0 down at half-time and then getting 2 back as well in the second half. It was goals by Son and Harry Kane. I believe it was, it was Son and Ferraro in the 56 minutes as well. Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford was the goal scorers for Man United, but again, Man United bottling 2-goal leads as well to lose the match as well. Really, really wasn't good by them as well, I'm afraid, for them. Next time out, Crystal Palace. This weekend matches include Palace, West Ham, and London Derby there tomorrow. Brighton and Wolves, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, and then over the week, next couple of days as well. Fulham, Man City at 2 on Sunday. Bournemouth at Leeds. There's 4 matches on 2 at Sunday. Newcastle, Southampton. Liverpool and Spurs at 4:30, another big match there as well. Leicester Everton is going to be a big match at the bottom there as well for both sides. And then another massive match on the Tuesday, Arsenal and Chelsea. Can Chelsea recover? Can Arsenal recover? Both sides are struggling in form recently. Can Arsenal recover and get back onto winning form, or can they, or will Chelsea finally be able to get something out of them as well? It's going to be interesting to see. And keep an eye out for midweek matches as well, by the way. Liverpool, Fulham on Wednesday, Man City, West Ham on Wednesday, and then Brighton, Man United on the Thursday as well to look out for as well in rescheduled midweek matches as well.
Plenty of that news to come in, and that is all the news for the sport this week. Now it's time to do Conversation Street this week. Now, obviously, as you guys know, I'm a Celebrity's been on this week, the South Africa special, and Zach, Georgia Toffolo having an awkward trial the other day, winning 8 stars under a sewer.
Yeah, 8 stars as well. He's pretty decent. 8 out of 9. He's really good. But yeah, so I'm a Celebrity has returned this week for a very special series. Not your typical winter series. This time it's been South Africa for an all-star series. 9 contestants are returned. They're all living in separate camps as well. Tonight's episode has just been shown. I'm not going to spoil it for you, Charlie, because I know you're going to watch that later as well. But 3 of them are doing a challenge as well. It could also, I think might be elimination challenge as well, potentially. As well, they're all fighting to survive. There's no live votes. There's no public voting. This is all a pre-recorded series. They're also fighting for survival through the use of survival trials and all that sort of thing as well. But yeah, Georgia did really well with all the snails. The other night, as you said, 8 out of 9, given the camps were separated, it's a really good result. And yeah, it's already caused a little bit of conflict and tensions in there.
I only know Sean Ryder from what he's been doing.
Sean Ryder, I can't remember who he saw when he came in, wasn't too happy, was he?
And snoring as well are causing annoyance in camp.
Yeah, actually, this has been quite entertaining actually, because it's actually a little bit more drama filled than you say your regular civilians, your regular series out in Australia. So the fact they brought together a few from the past and then brought them together is causing a little bit of issues for some of them, isn't it? As well, and it'll be fun to see this develop and see the relationship between the camps sort of intertwine and see how they can all settle on with all the different personalities that they have as well. Some are more feisty, others, some more comic than others. But yeah, is it going to be really? Let's see what happens. There's only 3 weeks of this. Just keep an eye out. There's going to be so we've got another 5 episodes coming up next week, Monday to Friday, and another 5 afterwards as well. But week 1 is now over. I'll be on to week 2 at Monday at 9 o'clock. As well, I won't spoil what happens tonight, Charlie, because I know you're going to be keen to watch that after this as well. So yeah, but yeah, good to see I'm a Celebrity back a little bit in a bit of a different format as well. This series.
Very, very interesting to say the least. Now, we're going to move on to the actual Conversation Street this week, another musical update. We're going to talk about some of the latest news now. A lot of people have been asking me to do a charts update for a long time. So I thought we'll go through it this week. We will go through some of the UK charts. We won't go through all of it, but we'll go through a UK chart update because there has been lots of changes to the UK singles charts. And there's been a lot of artists that have been on the rise lately with their songs. So I'm now going to get up for you some of the UK singles charts, and me and Zach are going to react to them all right now. So let's go over the top 10 that are here at the moment. Miracle by Calvin Harris and Ellie Goulding is at the number 1 spot, haven't been on the chart for 7 weeks. Daylight by David Kushner stays at number 2. Up 4 places, People by Libanka at number 4. Wish You the Best, Lewis Capaldi. One of Lewis Capaldi's new singles, I think, from his latest album is down 3 places. Eyes Closed is also an album from Ed Sheeran's latest album. I believe it's to do with a math symbol, plus something like that. Down 3 places. Number 5, sorry. Calm Down by Rima at 6. As It Was by Harry Styles, a big move. But 55 weeks in the charts, up 9 places at number 7. Miley Cyrus's latest hit stays at number 8 this week. React by Switch Disco featuring Ella Henderson up 14 places to number 8, and Forget Me down 7 places to 10th. Zach, what do you make to some of the UK chart updates this week regarding the latest news?
Yeah, I'm a pretty avid music fan, so I'm pretty keen to see well. What I see about the chart these days is obviously it's based on obviously what you download. It's less about iTunes these days. It's more about what you stream on Apple Music and Spotify, as well, and how much you watch videos on YouTube Music, for example, as well. So this is all based on that data on that sort of thing as well. As well as social media reaction, all that sort of thing. TikTok's views is not included in that sort of thing as well, unsurprisingly. As well, but yeah, I mean, you see the likes of Flowers, who's been in the charts for 15 weeks as well so far. It's down from 9th to 10th this week. Very catchy song. It's been one of those number one for 7 or 8 weeks before, so it's come down quite a bit now as people go on from it. Lewis Capaldi's got 2 songs in the top 10, 9th and 3rd. Forget Me's 9th, 33 weeks in the charts as well. It's peaked at number 1 before, as well. And obviously, Wish You the Best. It was briefly number 1, as well, but it's now gone to number 3, as well as CD sales have sort of declined in that area as well. Although it's not doing as well on streaming as some of those other songs. Obviously, that CD sales and vinyls all count towards the chart, all that sort of thing as well. So, Wish You the Best was now down from 1 to 3, as well. React, Switch Disco, and Ella Henderson, as well. It samples Darius Sounds, as well. It samples a previous song by it samples a previous song that was also the Switch Disco song, but it features Ella Henderson on vocals. It's now at 8th position of 8. It's gone into the top 10 now in 8 as a new entry, as well. Actually, it's gone to, according to this, it's gone to 8th. Although you've got a little bit different one there as well. I mean, yeah, according to this, it's 8th. 7th is Harry Styles. 6th is Ed Sheeran. Rima's 5th. People Libicana's 4th. Obviously, Wish Capaldi. David Kushner's ones that I really liked, as well. I have to say. This is one that's sort of like a really chilled like tune. It sounds like a bit like Hosier, or is like grammar music as well. By the way, going back to the Switch Disco thing, that's chilled. That samples "Children" by Robert Miles. But you may hear a little bit of a similarity to that because it samples it. But yeah, Miracle is the one with Calvin Harris at the moment. It was 2 last week. Now gone back to number 1. Ellie Goulding on vocals, very famous, and Calvin Harris as DJ. Phew, putting out the hits again, and it's gone back at number 1 with a little trance single. Miracle was a good song, I have to say. By the way, it's absolutely outstanding on trance sounding song at the top. Going to be blasted out by clubs everywhere, as well. So yeah, it's at 7 weeks on the chart, but it's peaked again back at number 1. So yeah, really good to see that it back at number 1 again.
Yeah, plenty of news on that as well. We're just going to announce before the end of the show, we are going to announce some new latest news regarding Craig David's tour dates. He has released more details on that. But we'll announce that at the end of the show. Moving on now, we're going to quickly round up the papers whilst we're here. So let's get on with that. It's time for press preview, where we're going to round up the latest newspapers. Let's get on with them right now. Here we go. We've got lots of papers now for the 29th of April. Daily Telegraph goes, surgeons operate only once every fortnight. NHS productivity being driven down even lower despite backlogs, warns leading medic. NHS strike poses threat to Great Ormond Street Hospital. That is from the Times. FT Weekend goes, Richard Sharp quits BBC over Johnson loan. That's big news there. The Daily Mirror goes for a new king for our times comes, as King Charles III will be having his coronation next Saturday. iWeekend revealed Putin's top mercenaries fighting in Sudan. For a start, why are Vladimir Putin's troops not fighting? Why are they fighting there? I mean, honestly, they should be fighting anywhere, let alone anything. Daily Mail goes, Marks and Spencer and Victoria Beckham back our tourist tax fine as well. Funny enough, I used to work there, believe it or not. The Independent goes for BBC chairman quits over role in £800,000 cash over for Boris loan, and the BBC and the Guardian goes for the BBC chair quits over a Tory sleaze scandal. Sorry, sleaze is certainly growing there. Zach, what do you make to the latest newspaper headlines?
Yeah, several, obviously, quite a lot of papers out already. I mean, there's quite a few actually already. Out by the time we get to 10 o'clock, it means 11 past 10 already. Start the day, Telegraph. Surgeons operate only once every fortnight. NHS productivity being driven even lower despite huge backward warned leading medic as well. Daily Telegraph highlights that surgeons performing scheduled operations only once every 2 weeks despite record health service backlogs. As well. So that I mean, this is the state of the NHS it's in as well. Professor Neil Morrison, the president of the Royal College of Surgeons of England, revealed that despite record health service backlog, productivity on surgeons have been driven ever lower as a result of staff shortages and a lack of operative theatre space. So yeah, we're coming to spring months now, and we can't even have proper services. More backlogs as usual. The productivity has dropped, and I'm not surprised, quite frankly, that this productivity has actually dropped, to be fair, because quite honestly, everyone's tired out. You know, they're working their asses off and all that sort of thing, and they're tired out. Surgeons, are struggling. The backlog is getting bigger as well. It's just people that don't want to do it and that sort of thing. And the productivity, once people get tired out, the productivity gets lower and lower. The backlog gets bigger and bigger, and it still got.
Hold on,
issues.
sorry, I've had my things decided. Oh God, sorry guys,
frozen?
I've had a bit of a.
You're right.
I don't know what to say.
Your thing's frozen, hasn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I was being. Oh God,
your thing's frozen, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm fine, guys. I'm back on now. My apologies there. I do apologise.
Right.
I've had a bit of a mouthful. Here we go. We're back on now.
I can still hear you, by the way. It's all good to me, Charlie. But yeah, I mean, it's the problems there. The backlog is big, and the surgeons are getting fed up about it as well. Productivity is going down, and then we have more issues as well. Surgeons operate only once every fortnight is an example of that. Lack of surgeons, need to find some increased ways to do that. But yeah, it's huge problems in that front as well. The NHS continues its obviously year-long problems and absolute calamity of poor service and that sort of thing as well. And speaking of the NHS and services, the Times reports on concerns that nationwide NHS nurses strikes could pose a significant threat to the Great Ormond Street Hospital, with staff levels and wards raising serious worries. Now, the next sector of Royal College of Nursing strikes will now include emergency services. Now is now going to cover that as well. So those on the emergency lines are actually going to be taken off and go on strike instead, rather than them being exempt from previous strikes. This has threats like Great Ormond Street as well, where those who are they'll be striking there as well, and those who they'll be unable to provide serious care for those who are very vulnerable as well. And it's a very serious situation that this has been allowed to happen. The Royal College of Nursing this week has now had to cut their strike days short as well, because it's been deemed unlawful by the High Court. The government launched legal threats against it, got an injunction, they won that injunction, but still the damage it's going to cause, with the fact that emergency workers and that sort of thing, critical workers are actually going to go on strike now rather than be exempt. It's going to cause huge serious damage for those who are getting themselves into trouble or really, really vulnerable as well, especially for those young children and those who are vulnerable as well. It's going to just cause huge issues. I can't imagine the exact pain and danger that they're going to find themselves in. For those who are seriously vulnerable, it's going to be really bad as well. FT Weekend goes for the fact that they're talking about the Richard Sharp story. You may have seen today Richard Sharp has quit as BBC chairman. He will be there for an acting period of time, but he's quit today as BBC chairman after the report about his role in disclosure of handing out, not declaring a loan that he did to Boris Johnson, £800,000 loan before he applied for the BBC job. He decided, following the report, that he's had enough as well. Although the report came out and said he didn't necessarily, cause any necessary bad conflict. The fact that he didn't declare this reviewed the fact that he was in the headlines so much he decided the day came that he couldn't stay to his job anymore longer. So yeah, he's going to quit. He's just going to quit as BBC chairman. There'll be new procedures get underway to get to do a new BBC chairman as well. Now this sort of Richard Sharp's resignation has called on the fact that others such as Gary Lineker now called out the fact that there should no longer be political chairman should not be made by political appointments as well, such as government. It should now be made by independent people that can run can impartially choose the BBC chair as well, rather than go through the select committee and a lot of political appointees and that sort of thing, and then approved by the government. I agree with that in many ways as well. The BBC chair should not be chosen by political people. It should be chosen by independent people who know their thing or two about what's best for the BBC. As well, and the Daily Mirror goes for coronation exclusive, new king for our times. Brit-backed Charles and his plan to slim down the monarchy. As well, I wouldn't be surprised to be fair. The Daily Mirror is full of leftists, but there we go, like me in that part. But in many cases, the King Charles wants to streamline the monarchy a little bit. The Daily Mirror Mirror readers agree with it. I think if making the crown more efficient as we're going to celebrate the coronation of that coming week as well, is really important.
And we have local elections next week as well, not to forget. Both coronation and local elections follow that as well.
We'll get onto that in a moment. But yeah, a coronation, I mean, like getting, slimming the monarchy down a little bit it's up to Charles. If he wants to do that, then he's more than welcome to do that. I think, Republicans would be happy about that. I mean, they won't want to get rid of it altogether, but, making the monarchy more easier and simpler can always be welcome. So I agree on that one. And if the, Daily Mirror readers want to do that sort of thing, then they're fine. The Daily Mail. M&S and Victoria Beckham back our tourist tax fight. As well, they've called now the Daily Mail running this campaign calling for the tourist tax to be scrapped. As well, the tourist tax as well. I have to make it's sort of like a little additional tax for like those who holiday here and all sort of thing as well, which is a bit strange. I must say as well. It's the sort of thing I would expect the Daily Mail to keep him for, but they've decided it's worth abolishing or campaigning on as well. M&S Victoria Beckham have come out as well as support of American arranged. Stuart Manchin, Maria Head of the Miss Beckham fashion brand, said that move would boost the economy. Then more than 130 hospitality retail tour chief Richard J. Hart warning that stripping tourists of tax-free shopping was extraordinary own goal. Again, I mean, I don't really understand this one. This is the sort of thing I thought the Daily Mail would campaign against, really, because it means that, like for them, they hate their foreigners, really, and the likes of foreigners, non-British nationals or those who are visiting us can, get away tax-free, and we have to pay taxes. It seemed a bit weird on that front, but it's a strange one, I think, quite to be fair, why the Daily Mail would support that sort of thing as well. And it's a bit weird as well. The Mirror have also got their free Coronation magazine as well. And the Eye go for Putin's top mercenaries are fighting Sudan. The Eye Weekend uncovers that Russia's Mercury Wagner Group are operating a war in Sudan. And have been also fighting as UK citizens flee. Heavily armed Wagner troops are important to Sudan to secure vast gold shipments when fighting the capital. As well, UK Ministry of Defence tracking activities, direct plan to send 2 warships to evacuate British National Court and crime. I do wonder if the Wagner Group in this situation, Charlie, are supporting the RDF or the RDF or whatever, I can't remember as well the militaries in the opposition in Sudan as well. I do wonder whether they're supporting there as well. I know they brought the Wagner Group in, the RSF, sorry, the Rapid Support Forces Klitschko military father warlord to kill Mohammed Hamid Dalagan cemetery. I wonder if they're supporting them. I wouldn't be surprised if they are. And that's why Wagner there. But Wagner are getting their talent in everywhere. They're doing it in Ukraine, Sudan now, by the looks of it. I mean, they are poking their nose. Russia are poking their nose into business. I wonder if there's some financial gain out of it in many ways as well in this situation. Moving on. 2 more papers to cover. The Guardian goes for BBC chair quits as over Tory sleeve grows. As well, I mean, not surprising in many ways. I mean, it's the front cover of the Guardian. I mean, the Richard Sharp looked like a little bit of a sort of a Boris Johnson sort of like, sympathetic one as well. It makes you wonder whether, close Boris Johnson, whatever Boris Johnson touches, he ruins in many ways as well. It goes on the front of the Independent as well. Inquiry finding he did not properly disclose help for Olympian when applying for Booth's job. I mean, it's been the DM, the Departure Culture Media Select Committee sort of said that in the first place as well. The Independent are calling it cash for Boris in many ways as well. Was what they're saying about it. Labour said this week, reacting to it, said he should have been sacked weeks ago after helping to arrange the loan up to £800,000 to Boris Johnson as well. But yeah, this views obviously the BBC in a different light as well, whether they're too close to the Tories or they're too close to Labour sometimes. They all say the same different things as well. But yeah, I think it's been a bad look for the BBC recently with their loans, their Gary Lineker fiasco and all sort of things. It's not been a gracious week in terms of the BBC, in terms of keeping their house in order. And looking a bit cronyism in many ways as well. So, yeah, I have to say, not a good look for them. But, yeah, that has been the papers for this week and for tomorrow, well, the 29th of April. I imagine we've more to look forward to as well. I want to mention local elections, Charlie, because this is going to be the last time we chat before the local elections and before the coronation as well. There'll be local elections in 236 different councils this week on Thursday, up from the north to the Midlands to the south as well. All areas are taking place with different counselling. Expectation is the Conservatives may lose big seats in some parts of the countries as well. Watch out for the north, especially the Red Wall seats as well. They'll be hotly contested. Some of the Conservatives probably better placed there, but still could lose quite a few there. I imagine it won't change despite the fact that Rishi's poll bounce is there a little bit as well. But yeah, local councils as well. It'll happen Thursday into Friday. We'll probably get less coverage this year because of the coronation. As well, but yeah, it's going to be a big week, especially the fact that control of local councils is going to be up for grabs. Labour want to make big gains as well. They could get up to 600. I think they could get up to 500 gains as well. Lib Dems will want to use their tactical vote to gain in the more rural sort of middle class areas where Tories have sort of been dominated over the years as well. That'll be their key gains as well, and in affluent areas, whereas the Greens will want to solidify their green credentials and gain some of the key Tory marginals that sort of gone their way and they're sort of moving towards green, very close on environmental issues as well. So yeah, it's a big week of local elections ahead as well, and I'm looking forward to that and following that. But I expect a few surprises on the way. But yeah, this will be a test to see whether Rishi Sunak has really turned the Conservative Party around, or whether the long decline of the Conservatives is still on.
Yeah, that's all the latest news there. And of course, as Zach said, local elections next week as well. I just want to also give you an update regarding some music news that's been announced over the last few days. Craig David has announced his full show lineup for 2023, including new shows taking place. Ibiza Rocks will be on the list on the 20th of May in Ibiza. Craig David will be performing in Ibiza. Also on other dates as well that have been announced in the past few days. 26th, 19th and 12th of September, he'll be performing in Ibiza, Spain, for the Ibiza House Party, which is a huge house party that I believe takes place as well. And there was also other shows announced as well. Obviously, Ibiza Rocks, Haycock, in addition to Haydock Park Racecourse on the 24th of June, also 9th of July, Standfest, Dorset, Barton Aerodrome there on the 14th of July, Electric Bay have already covered. Newmarket and York racecourses as well will be also hosting Craig David from the 21st and 29th of July. And also as well, there'll be another Ibiza Rocks on the 8th of August, followed by Carfest on the 26th of August, in Hampshire, and also Pub in the Park at St Albans, England, on the 9th of September. Zach, what do you make to Craig David's new tour date's been announced?
Yeah, he's touring everywhere. He's taking his TS5 thing with him as well. So he's sort of mixing DJ and sort of vocals as well. You're going to see all over it this summer as well. I mean, like Ibiza Rocks, he's starting out as well. That's a massive place to start, Ibiza Rocks as well. And then he's going off to Haydock, Sandfest, Electric Bay, Bryn. So much dates he's got over the summer as well in July, August. He's going to have a busy old summer, he is, and he's going to be everywhere. You obviously can find tickets to whatever relevant place you want to find as well. But yeah, he's going to be everywhere starting out at Ibiza Rocks. Then a busy July for the Sandfest, Electric Bay, Bryn, Newmarket, well, Camp Festival. He's back in Ibiza Rocks on the 1st as well of August, and then 60s Luge Fest. Ibiza Rocks back again on 8th of August. The Burn Hudge as well on the 11th as well. Another Ibiza Rock set on the 22nd, the Car Fest as well, and then finishing off with a few more Ibiza Rock setting on August, September, Castle Gronin as well, Worthing, Pub in the Park as well on the 9th, and then back to Ibiza to round off Ibiza Rock season as well there in Ibiza.
Yeah, and of course, he'll be playing lots of great songs. 22 album, of course, the 22 album that he released late last year. Craig has said on social media, do you want any of his songs to be played from 22? Will he be making new music very soon as well? We've also been hearing reports that he could be making some new music very soon. We just don't know. We'll keep you updated on that latest news as that happens. Thank you so much for watching, guys. The Tonight Show podcast with me, Charlie, and of course my co-host, Zach Chambers. We'll do it all again next week with coverage from the local elections, reacting to all the latest results as they come in. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Tonight Show podcast. Take care and good night.